Hi, I'm Dr. Amanda Kemp.
Hi, I'm Miss Makeda.
And together we are Get Your Chocolate On. Today's episode, we have a very special guest who I'm going to let Makeda introduce. But before we introduce our guest, who is a famous author, I want to tell you that this episode of Get Your Chocolate On has been brought to you by Racial Justice from the Heart. And we are an education and training company that is committed to creating profound human connection while standing for justice and compassion all the time. And we invite you to be part of our upcoming Transform Your Hidden Racial Bias training, which is coming up on February 5th and 12th. It's a 2-day training and there's lots of mentoring involved. So I think Makeda's going to post that link for you.
Yeah, I'm going to put it in the chat.
And yeah, and then we can introduce our special guest.
All right, I'm so excited to introduce our guest today. So our episode topic today, first of all, is women of color. And our special guest is Anatalia Vallez, a poet and a writer. She's such an amazing artist. So her book is called The Most Spectacular Mistake. We have it with us today, and we'll also be giving one away at the end of the episode. So make sure you stay till the end. We'll be doing our number draw that we always do. So I'm really excited.
Me too. Oh, and I just want to say, you can also buy Anatalia Vallez's book directly, so you don't have to wait for a free one. It's on Amazon, but it's also on their website, which is, I believe, anataliavallez.com. Is that correct? All right, cool. So did we introduce Anatalia enough?
You tell me, girl.
Okay, well, I just want to say she's amazing, a performer and as well as a writer and a racial justice archivist, so an activist and an art maker. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I love, Get Your Chocolate On and the conversations y'all have. So I'm really excited to be here with you.
Oh my goodness. We're so excited to have you. I don't even know how to start. I don't know.
Okay. Well, should we start with the book?
Yeah. Okay. That's a good place to start. So this book, it has so much, it's like a mixture. We have some poetry and we also have these, I don't know what to call them, like mini stories almost. They're kind of like a diary page put in the middle. I loved the page Manifesto. That was one of my favorite little short ones. Do you have the book with you? Do you want to maybe read it?
Sure.
It's for all of those who are following along. It's page 46. And for those I know you were all going to go out and get this book.
Okay. Manifesto. 2017, the year that I finally embraced being called a bitch, because I know what they're saying behind my back or under their breath. She's nice, but then she has her moments. Yes, I am that bitch that rolls her eyes and follows your email thread, says it like it is, calls in sick to emotional labor, won't think twice about smacking that smirk off your petty ass face, sticks to her budget, says, show me, don't tell me, won't take your apology as a change of heart, knows better than to blame herself for everything, won't change her mind to please you, leaves the group chat, keeps you on red because she has too many things to do and you are not one of them.
Ooh.
Refuses to put down the pen. I will take it further than what Tina Fey once said. Bitches don't just get stuff done. Bitches are gonna turn this world upside down, inside out. Hold them by the legs to claim the change we've been working for. And I hope today, as you read these words, the bitch in you recognizes the bitch in me.
Oh my God, you cannot tell me. I think that is such a good way to introduce yourself to people who are watching you. I think it describes you perfectly. And but seriously, I love it. It spoke to me. I feel like it's so empowering. It just makes you feel I don't know, secure almost. I can't describe
confident,
just kind of ready.
Ready.
For people who are more like me, like people pleasers, it can be really hard sometimes to think about what people might say behind your back when you're advocating
True.
for yourself more than other people.
True.
But one thing someone told me was people pleasing is actually people deceiving. And I was like, ooh, maybe it's better to just be you, and at least then you're being honest and authentic. And yeah, love that.
Wow. So Natalie, Anatalia, I wonder if you could tell us like what led you to want to make this manifesto.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had been part of a lot of organizing when I was in undergrad. And so uh, I read manifestos and I was just really intrigued by the poetry that sometimes it would elicit, because it wasn't like word for word, like we want these, like it's different than demands, right? A manifesto really brings forth this new vision. And I think that that's what I felt really resonate with me as I moved out of those direct organizing spaces and into more like, what are we going to create? And I really give a lot of credit to like Black women and like Black authors that like have been writing like Afrofuturism and like have been thinking about like Octavia Butler, like bell hooks and all about love, like all these things that made me have hope in that. That's my cat. That all the things that I was dreaming of that I didn't know, like, is it even possible to be free, to be like liberated, and to live in a different world than the one that we live in?
Mhm.
And those were affirmations like, yes, yes.
Yeah.
That is exactly why I felt like I needed to write this book. And I didn't even know it was a book. I know I needed to write that,
Yeah.
affirming those same words that they were saying, but using it in a vocabulary that was Spanglish, that was like first gen, like, born here, that that was contemporary to the struggles right now.
Mm.
And people can be like, yes, yes, like, like that affirming, instead of that like internal struggle of like doubt or fear. That affirmation of like, yes, we're on we're where we need to be. Let's keep going.
That is so
Mm.
powerful. I feel like so often we set rules for ourselves or set rules about how we're supposed to be, and then you have to question, well, who's really enforcing these rules? Most of the time it's just you. And
Mm.
so, like the manifesto, that is so radical. Against yourself almost.
Or for yourself.
Yeah, for yourself, against your messages.
Yes.
I love that. I really do.
Yes.
And you talked about writing it in Spanglish and like putting it in that space as well, so that it's for you. And I feel like if part of the theme this week in the episode is like women of color being in alliance to each other, one of the most important part is like meeting people in their space.
Yes.
And like especially with writers, you can learn a lot from women of color authors and what they're writing about, and like going to their space, make sure it's not something that they wrote for a white space or something like that. It's for them in a space they're comfortable in.
Mm-hmm.
So powerful.
Wow. And I also want to lift up how you said you wanted to create something
Mhm.
or build something like in the direct at organizing space. It kind of implied in there was, I heard there was like kind of like the critique space and you wanted to build something. Do you want to say a little bit more about that? Maybe I didn't hear you correctly.
Yeah, I think it's the structure of the organizing work that I was doing really followed a model of domination that I felt was of the oppressor, like was the oppressor's handbook,
Mm.
basically, essentially. And I became, friends of mine became targets of it, like I became a target of it, and it did not feel like it fit. Like, how can I be like a mujer, like a chicana, Latina, in the struggle and still be oppressed within these confines of, well, you just got to take a back seat, and we're going to stand on the podium, we're going to do this, we're going to lead the marches. But like, I was doing a lot of the back end work. And
Right.
so it just didn't feel liberating. It felt like, oh, this is exactly what I had experienced before.
Mm.
It's in a different, it's a different flavor of it. And so I didn't, I wanted to, and going back to those books, those things like affirm to me, like it's not just in direct organizing. Yes, it's a branch, right? But it's like a branch to the big tree, like the tree that we're trying to sustain, right? Like just like how systemic racism, it's everywhere. We need doctors, we need lawyers, we need, you know, people in all of these spaces. And why? And emotion, and my emotional capacity has always been something that I I always felt was a part of me. And so why not use that and heal in the process, uh and bring people in, especially people that doubted whether or not like they, whether or not like a different world was possible. And I've been
Mm.
like, no, 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 you know it, like your heart knows it.
Mm. Wow.
That reminds me of what you said last week. Just imagine that we've already won, and to even
Yeah.
have that like capacity in your brain to feel that is a direction in the right step in the right direction.
Wow, that is so true, Nana. I just want to.
We're on your wavelength now.
Because what you said was a manifesto is your vision, and you put your vision out there. You affirmed, and it's so easy to be in the critique space because what is wrong is so obvious to us. But sometimes what we want, you know, is it takes different. You got to access a different part of yourself, and you mentioned your emotional. I forget exactly how you said it, but your emotional self.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that literally just finding out in the in um going more into like theater and the arts and things like that, and taking up space in those places that are not, that were not made for people like me, that um my emotional capacity has been something that I felt like I needed to fix because it didn't fit what society told me like I should be. Like I should be strong, I should be courageous, I should just be able to take anything, and like I should be able to, like all these expectations that I should have, that are expected of me. And to be able to break those down and say, no, I want to be me. What does that even, then what does that even mean, right? And it's being courageous enough to step into like my emotional capacity and see it as a gift, as something that I can share with other people, and as something that I also need to protect. That not everybody deserves my time, deserves my energy, right? Not every battle is mine to fight. And that takes a lot of courage because there is this like fight or flight kind of thing that we're taught, like, okay, let's go, they did this, let's go, you know. And so to break that cycle, to break that pattern, it takes a while.
Yeah, yeah, true. Um, just if you just joined us, we have on Get Your Chocolate On today, we have our special guest. Let's say,
Anatalia Vallez, such a pretty last name, by the way.
yes, who is the author of The Most Spectacular Mistake?
You can go get it off of Amazon or
Amazon
on her website.
Great.
Okay, so I
we
want to
got
bring
some
up
comments.
Yeah, we always have some comments. I want to bring some in. So someone on Facebook commented, Tamara said, in this context, I understand that bitch as a I understand the term bitch as a call to understand that strong women are often called bitch. But I have a really hard time when women refer to each other as bitches, as a term of endearment or power. Maybe I'm too old school. Can we not come up with a better term for our most powerful selves? I agree. I think it's really interesting in the English language how there's not, you know, it's kind of hard to find a good word that carries that same oomph.
What do you think, Natalie?
I know, I'm trying to think of one.
Because you use it. So what do you want to say? What do you say to someone like that?
I think I used it in so the book is divided into 4 parts, and I believe manifesto is in the second part, which is core, which is about letting out the rage and letting out the like kind of like screw what other people think, like screw what is supposed to be like quote unquote educated, quote unquote polite. Like I grew up in a really like white space, like the white community, and so there was always a like keep your head down, just be polite, be like a good like a good Mexican basically, and like don't get out of line. And so this was like that rage needed to happen, like that like anger, I needed to let that out, and I couldn't filter it. And so I think that's why people connected to that part, because I take people on a journey in the book and
Mhm.
I'm able to let out those words
Mhm.
and heal, alchemize those words, those things that I've
Right.
been told I shouldn't be,
Mm.
those attitudes that I shouldn't have. And like
Mhm.
what do I actually do when I'm able to be freed of that? Then I can come home to myself and find find peace in everything. Find
Mhm.
peace in being angry, find peace in being sad, find peace in being joyful, even during a pandemic, right? Like, and so I think that um, there is a lot of, especially I see with a lot of people that are like monolingual and
Mhm.
in English, there's this huge like emphasis and like heaviness. Like words have this like just really heavy
Mhm.
context, like something or someone told us this word, and so we're going to hold on to the weight of the story of that word
Mhm.
until like the last days of our lives.
Mhm.
Hold like so much, and like I think about the power that we give words
Mhm.
when we allow them to to do that to us.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
that like someone can call me a bitch and I'm like, oh, and just like, you know, like and what happens when I'm able to respond or just like hold space for that part of me, right? For that part of me that is, and
Mhm.
just be like, cool. And
Mhm.
not retaliate, right? And not like get upset, because that's the way that they see me, but I know who I am.
Mhm.
Mm.
I know that I encompass all these things.
Right. The word that comes to me then
Mhm.
to replace bitch, I would say is just liberated. You just sound free. Like that's the best way to put it. Just not really, there's no boxes around you. There's no
Mhm.
boundaries that you set for yourself.
Mhm.
So I mean, I feel like maybe you can't really say I'm liberated. Like it's not as much as a like a name thing.
Mhm.
But if someone were to call you a bitch, you could respond, "No, I'm just liberated."
Mhm.
Or someone says something, "God, she's such a bitch." I think she's just liberated,
Mhm.
you know. And let them hear however they're gonna hear it. I'm sure it'll sink in eventually.
Mhm. Wow. And I think what Natalie's also pointing to is she said in monolingual speakers of English, like we allow these words to have power.
Mm-hmm.
Weight is what you said, Natalie. You said a lot of weight. And so I wonder, did you want to say something about people who are bilingual or trilingual? Do you
Right.
think they hold things differently?
I do. I mean, just from my experience being like speaking Spanish first as a baby and then learning English through the education system, I think that the ability, it's kind of like juggling, like you're constantly just like juggling these balls and just being like, oops, one drops, but it's sort of in the moment, it's not the end of the world. You just like pick it up and keep going. And um it's very interesting the way that like our brain works when we're able to speak more than one language. It's like we're always kind of transferring. We think I've heard that like you think differently in one language and then the other.
Mm.
So even like our cadence is different in another language, and so it's a different way of thinking. And I've had this conversation with my sister before, and it's just so interesting that that sometimes when we don't know the word, so in Spanish, for example, if we don't know the word of something, we'll sort of fill in the blanks and we're like, well, we think this is what it is. And then one day we'll ask my mom what that means. And then we're like, oh, this is what it means. And it's like unlocking different parts of the story rather than giving it, this is the definition, this is defining it. It's either
Yeah.
this or it's not.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So you're talking about like a whole flexibility and you know, a word's meaning isn't set. It can be ongoingly refined or
Right.
yeah.
And having two languages, you have the other options so you can compare and kind of see
Yeah.
what's there, what's in between the lines and things like
And
that.
what you're and what you're used to, you said juggling. So you don't have to be like it's all one way. You get to be a little more creative, or you have to be a little more creative because you're juggling two languages, in your case, different cultures.
I have to ask, do you dream in Spanish or English or both?
I think in both. I don't have there's not a lot of words in my dreams, but there's definitely people, and like I'll be in different spaces where I'll see people from different cultures, or like, in Mexico and stuff like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question because it made me think, what language do I dream in? But I have more images, less talking, more, dynamics or something than words.
I'm always
You
chatting
dream
in
a
my
lot.
dreams.
Makeda is a huge dreamer.
I am. It's always very real, very vivid. I always feel like it's real life, and it's like just a casual experience I'm going through. Maybe I go to the grocery store, or I'm like at a party with my friends, and I just wake up.
You write them down? Do you write your dreams?
I used to write them down a lot, and the more I write them down, the more I realized there was no sense in them that I could find. And I was hoping I could find like a common theme. So that disappointment kind of stopped me. But I do think I should. I'm a fan of writing your dreams down. I think it makes them even more vivid. The more you write them down. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do we have any more comments from our folks? I know some
people are liking what we're saying.
Oh, so Jenny says she likes that response. Not a bitch, just liberated. Yeah. And I want to say to the lady who wrote in and said, maybe she's old school because she doesn't see how women want to refer to each other as bitches, meaning women that we like.
Yeah, I get that. I really do.
And I generally, as Makeda will probably tell you, I am very careful with language. And for example, I don't choose to use the N-word, like almost ever. But I do have Black poet friends who use the N-word. It's part of what they're about, what they're reclaiming, what they're playing with. And I hear what you say, Natalie, is like, you don't have to give a word a lot of power. You can, kind of, you don't have to be wounded by a word.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It is a choice.
Yeah. So I know that's possible. I'm just saying for me, for example, I don't have that. But with bitch, I do feel a little differently. I don't use it a lot. But when I hear women say, hey, bitch, what you doing, bitch? Or, what y'all hoes up to? I know.
Who says that to you?
Okay, not me. Okay, let's be for real. Okay, okay, but when I wanted to say it, I always have to be like clear about the content, how are people going to take it?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So, but I have wanted to say that just for everybody, just to be, transparent. Sometimes I do be like, what you talking about, bitch? Just because I'm like, come on now. Right? I'm loving. I'm being very loving when I say it, but there's a piece of you I'm talking to. I'm talking, come on, bitch. I'm always saying, come on, get raunchy with me. Get out of bounds with me.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say the word has evolved, just like a lot of other words.
I don't like men using the word at all.
Me neither. It doesn't sound good coming out their mouths. I never
find it like anything
funny,
except insulting and
yeah, basically that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So someone said an old school version of the bitch word is diva. That's what they used to say about women who are powerful. It's a diva, and that kind of sounds like a made up word. Maybe we could come up with just a quick made up one.
You're so cute. I don't know. I've heard also some femme men or femmes, identified folks like diva. I personally, and I know another older Black woman kind of mentorish figure for me. She likes the term diva. I personally don't gravitate to diva, even though I have a background in performance.
I like queen. We call each other queen
Oh
sometimes.
my God, I cannot tell you how good it makes me feel when another Black woman calls me queen. I can't tell you. It actually, they go, hey, queen. Good morning, queen.
And you're like, yes.
I'm like, I do. I feel so good. Do you feel that way?
I mean, it depends who's saying it. Sometimes it can sound a little corny.
Oh,
But most of the time I take it to heart.
When is it corny?
It depends who's saying it, honestly.
Like
a
a peer, somebody who's of your racial background. I'm not trying to get you to give a name, but
no,
is there,
it's not even name.
What's
it's
an
just,
instance where it feels corny?
The vibe of the person, I guess.
Oh, it feels unauthentic.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like they're saying it. Why are they saying it?
Yeah, like why are you saying that? I didn't do anything, you know.
Okay, I got you. What about you, Natalie? Do you like diva or queen? I don't know. What's your favorite besides bitch? Is there another one you like?
Not a lot of people call me bitch, because like I said, people don't like perceive me. It's like once they get to know me, they're like, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, there's depth to me. Like, I'm not just like this sweet
Bitch, bitch.
I'm like, yeah, getting to know me. Yeah, I think because I speak Spanglish and I grew up, a lot of the tender words are like in Spanish, or like nena, mija, like mija's like daughter. So like if someone calls me mija, I'm all like, me, you know, it just seems really endearing. Sometimes chica, but that can also be, like Makeda said, like it depends on like the relationship you have with that person, if like, because it can also seem kind of like I don't know, sometimes it seems sort of fake.
Like a reach.
I'm like, I don't think we know each other that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to remind people that the way we do Get Your Chocolate On is we take your comments in the chat on Facebook or your comments in the chat on Zoom. But we don't bring other people on air unless they're our guests. So we love you, and chat away, and we'll weave those in.
Amen.
Maybe
speaking of the chat,
go ahead.
I have an interesting comment from Doris. She says, it's a great quote. A phenomenal woman is purposeful and passionate. She is driven by her thoughts and makes her thoughts a reality. I like the word phenomenal woman. I like the way that sounds together. Yeah. Phenomenal woman. It just sounds like, what can't you do?
Do you know where it comes from?
Phenomenal? No.
Does any know the phrase phenomenal woman?
No, is it a movie?
Do you, Natalie? Are you familiar?
Isn't it from I've heard it like in a song.
Yeah. It's from a poem. I think it's
Maya Angelou. Yes.
Yeah, phenomenal woman. Next time, Makeda, next time, put that on your agenda. Bring that poem to the call next time.
If you have a pen, I could write that down.
No, I don't have a pen. Okay, but let's hear a little more of Natalie's book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Natalie. You've been on for so long.
Makeda picked a bunch of stuff.
I have so many. I just want to say, do you have any poems specifically that you want to share?
Yeah.
I don't really want to pick them for you.
No, go for it. I love it when people have.
Well, this one spoke to me because I think it's about your mother, Ruler in the Mirror.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that one as well. That's page 12.
Okay. Ruler in the Mirror. I'm sitting on the edge of the bathtub, pretending to brush my teeth, watching her look intently in the mirror. She takes out a comb and delicately parts her hair, raises a tweezer to her brows while the curling iron heats up, sharpens a red lip liner, raises the music, hums as she powders her face, studying every pore and freckle, looks into the eyes of her father, the nose of her mother, takes the curler to her bangs and creates an arc, shoulders back, powerful, in control, practicing the skills of a painter. Her face is her palette, sweeps her hair into a perfectly symmetrical work of art, sprays hairspray to secure her crown, and departs. No matter how out of control life situations may be, she is the almighty ruler of herself. After all, She has fought hard to be in control of her body and mind. She kisses my forehead before she leaves to face the day. I almost drop my brush. What an honor to be raised by someone who reclaims her divinity after being mutilated, and what a privilege to feel the ripple effects of self love.
I love it.
Wow.
It's so good.
What a privilege to feel the ripple effects of self-love.
I really felt that part. I feel the same way. Like, what an honor. Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if people if we want to look at some of the Zoom chat, just in case folks have been.
Oh, I've been looking.
Oh, you have been.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, Natalie, would you say that your relationship with your mom has changed dramatically at any point as you've developed?
Yeah, I think I get to know her in different ways as I get older. I think as a child I was very, very, and I think I write about that in the book, how I just was very attached to her. She was my security and she was my safety when there was a lot of other things that were happening, and learning to let go and be able to observe her as her own individuality and me as my own person was difficult because you become so close with someone. And then there was a time where I also was questioned a lot, like, why did you do this? Why did you stay? Why did you, like, why didn't you make other choices? And struggling with that, but then coming to a place of peace and understanding that she did the best that she could, which is still beyond my wildest imagination, how she made things happen, right? Like how she put food on the table, how she made it home every day. Like I'm still in awe of it, and still every time become humbled to learn more and more from her and how she's been able to walk this life and navigate this life with a lot of grace, I might add. And she just I'm I'm really grateful to her, that I get to walk in this life with a mom like that.
Mm. Wow. Wow.
Amen. Amen.
Oh, that's really beautiful.
It really
that is so
is.
beautiful.
And I see that in you too. So that's why, like, it's so like nurturing and tender. And I think that, like, I would love to one day be able to, like, have a space where my mom can also share like what she has, because I see like the benefit in like opening up and being a little vulnerable and like taking up space even in the virtual realm. Like it's huge. And like we don't know how many other like mom and daughter like do, like, folks can like also see themselves reflected in you all and find some sort of like common ground and some love.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I asked about if things had changed as you had changed, how you looked at your mom, because I know Makeda and I talked about, I was at this Quaker thing and I was like, kind of like very teary. I was like, at the end, they were like, are there any messages or anything? Maybe that's not a message, meaning something from God, but something you want to share with the group. And I was like, yeah, I just was very vulnerable. I said, I just feel like my daughter doesn't love me like she used to, you know? And this is when she's about 14, 15.
Oh, that makes sense.
And at the end, people don't give you advice. They just listen to you. And at the end, all these women came up to me and they're like, girl, she'll come back. It's true. They were like, she'll come back. And I remember this one woman telling me, she said she felt like her daughter's eyes, this is a Black woman. She said, I feel like so-and-so's eyes are going to get stuck in her head because she rolls them so hard when I talk. She's like, my God, how do they not get stuck as hard as she be rolling her eyes? So I just want to say to everybody else who's mothering out there, if you're not in that phase where your daughter is like, just appreciating your journey and honoring you, please don't make it mean that you're bad. It's part of the journey, don't you think?
Yeah,
it's part 100%. Of the journey. And if you continue feeding yourself self-love, as our writer said, self-love does kind of emanate to the to your loved ones.
100%. The thing that it's so interesting actually, because the thing people say to kind of get your self-love up is like kind of treat yourself when you look in the mirror the way you would want your mother to see herself when she looks in the mirror. It's like you have so much respect for her that you would never want her to look in the mirror and be dissatisfied with what she sees, right? And it's like it should be the same for you.
Wow. I actually heard treat yourself like you would want someone to treat your daughter. I guess it depends on what age you are.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever heard it that way? Like,
I guess
the little
so.
girl over there, and how would you protect her?
Oh my gosh.
Would you be judging her?
Don't get me started.
Don't get you started.
Don't get me started.
What do you think, Natalie? Let's let Natalie pop in here.
Oh gosh, no, those are all great. I mean, the one that I've been contemplating a lot, someone just like really put me in my place, was like, treat yourself like, would you treat yourself the way that you like, would you treat your ancestors the way that you treat yourself? And I was just like, hold the phone, like everybody stop,
Right.
everybody stop. Right. And I'm just like, oh, like whenever I need to like sit my butt down and like take care of yourself right now, not later, now. Yeah, I think that's it's completely normal. I think consistency like in showing up in as parents, consistency, people recognize that, children recognize that, they will always come around when you just keep, you're just like, I'm here for you. If you need anything, I'm here for you, because one day when you least expect it, they will reach out, they will be there because they know that you are consistent. I think that's part of like that healing, that healing phase, and just being honest too, because I think one thing that I really admire about my mom is that she, even as we were kids, she knew that we were going through a lot, and she didn't lie to us. She didn't try to sugarcoat things or talk down to us. She was really honest with us and told us like, look, this is what's happening, but like if you need anything, let me know. Like she gave us a phone when we were pretty young because of for our own safety. And she knew, like, she's like, I'm trusting you as, as kids, that you're gonna like get home and you're gonna da 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 da. And like she put a lot of responsibility but also like accountability, and she would always tell us, if I would like say like, oh, like, yeah, I went straight home or something like that, and she was like, really? And I'd be like, yeah. Like, I didn't, what are you talking about? She was like, well, you're not really lying to me. Like, even if you think you're lying, you're not lying to me, you're just lying to yourself. And as a kid hearing that, it was just like, what? She would always just like reflect back, like, okay, you think that you're getting away with this, but you're not. I think also my grandma would say something like, don't roll your eyes. So like, don't don't roll your eyes, because they're gonna stay like that one day. And I think that was also one of those things, like everybody, like my grandma went through that, my great grandma went through that, right? We all go through that phase of like, who is this child? That is like, right? But it's part of the journey.
Yeah, it is part of the journey.
I agree with you. Last thing, I feel like empathy, like as mothers, giving your kid a space to empathize with you is really helpful too, so that they can sort of begin to see you as another person on earth and not like as this infinite person that's always been there, will always be there. Getting to see like struggle a little bit. Like the first time I ever saw you cry was a big moment for me. And it's like that very first time, it's just like, whoa, what's going on? I thought only I had breakdowns. It was just so crazy. But after that, I had so much more room for you, and your emotions, and because I know you're feeling it just as much as I'm feeling it. Like, I got this sensitivity from somewhere. And that helped a lot. So like, I mean, I know
I see what you're saying, like seeing your mom's vulnerability.
Yeah, it's easy for moms to want to put up a like united front all the time for their kids. I see it a lot with my friends' moms. but at the same time, that vulnerability can be really useful if you want to cultivate more of like a friendship, I guess, because you're vulnerable with your friends. It's how you sort of stay close.
Mm,
So it depends, I guess, the age and everything of your kid too. But
yes, yeah, I agree. Wow, I feel a little emotional.
I know, me too. I don't even.
It's a little emotional. I want you alluded to some difficulties in your family that your mom you honor and you're amazed at how she walked you all, led you all through it, kept you together through it. And it might be helpful for other people to kind of hear whatever it is you might want to share, Anatalia, because you said you dedicate in your book in the first couple of pages, you dedicate it to people who are oh, to all survivors of violence, may we reclaim our power and our narratives. Y para las mujeres que me rebosaron. Rebosaron.
There you go.
So, do you want to tell us about that dedication? And
Well, thank you for asking. Yeah, that was probably the most like I was like, I need to do dedication. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's really important for me. Because I grew up in a household where there was domestic violence, and there was a lot of like stop crying, like da 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 da, a lot of like putting down my emotions, which is funny because it's like that's emotions literally is what saved my life. It's what has kept me from like going numb from my own emotions, which is very it happens when you go through trauma. Like at a certain point you just numb yourself. And so it's there's no shame in that at all. It's a response to trauma. But I always had the ability to like let out like crying literally. And I think because of that I was able to write the book. And sort of like all of this stuff happened to me, but even as I was as a child I was like I was told, don't be a statistic, don't be a teen mom, just get through school and like da 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 da. But I think like once I was no longer a minor it was like hands off, like
Yeah.
figure it out. And it's so intense like how that happens. um that I felt so vulnerable like as an adult coming into myself, and then like not wanting to replicate that same abuse and hurt in my own relationships as an adult. And um, actually going through some of that, and like not to the extent of like domestic violence, but definitely like a toxic relationship where like I felt like I was no longer myself, and I saw parts of like what my mom had gone through, like seeing it, and I was like, oh no, I can't do this. I can't. I'm not built for this, and not built for it. Like I'm not gonna take this. I'm not gonna do exactly what I I saw my mom go through and replicate this. This cycle has to end with me. And so I had to reach out for help, and I think that's also something that I would like to write more about as I get older, right? Like self-help, self-love, self-care, but also community care, and being able to reach out and get the support that we need. I know that's something that's really not talked about enough, that we all need support, we all need help, we all need someone to listen to us without shame, without um, giving us a hard time or having us like have to explain like we why we did that. Just to someone like to hold space for us. And I think the more that we are able to do that, the more like so many people, and I write that in at the end, like um so many people were there for me and holding space for me from a distance. Like, and when this book came out last year in the middle of the pandemic, like they were there, like virtually, they were there, they were getting the book, and it just felt so beautiful to dedicate this because we're all going through this systemic violence, right? And so really anybody that feels like they haven't had the ability to express any set of emotions because of the violence that we endure. um this is for them. And then the rebozo is all the women that it's like a scarf, it's like a long scarf that you do to wrap like a baby.
Mhm.
And so it was my mom wrapped me, my grandma's wrapped me in that. And so like that's like the first form of sort of nurturing, holding that baby like heart to heart, you know. Yeah.
Also, the baby is wrapped to your chest, not on your back.
It can be here, it can be here.
Okay.
Very
Okay.
versatile.
It's very versatile. Rebosaron. Can you say the word?
Rebosaron.
Rebosaron.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Really beautiful word.
It is, right?
Sounds
like
good.
lechuza.
Lechuza. Was that owl?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a beautiful word.
I know. It sounds like a pretty name.
So I know Natalie had
we've
to go.
kept you past your time.
Oh, we did keep her past the time.
But
we do. Can we draw a winner so that
Yeah.
you can know who won your book, Natalie?
and we'll send it out. Don't worry about that. But
yeah.
All right. So everyone, now's a good time to drop a random number between 1 and 50 in the comments. And we will be picking that number at random. Any number, I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Any number between 1 and 50.
Yeah.
And you can put it in the chat on Zoom, or you can put it in the comments on Facebook.
Yep.
And while Makeda is working that out, Anatalia, I wonder if we could have you read one more little snippet from your book. Because it's gonna take a while for you to get the answer, right? No, let her choose that one. You can,
okay.
Unless you don't want to choose it, Natalie. Anatalia.
I'll I think I have one.
Okay. Ooh, did you find a number?
Yeah.
Oh, Makeda found a number. We're going to end with Natalie, Anatalia's reading.
No, keep going, because should we give people more time to comment their number?
I don't know. I think all the numbers are in. Are all the numbers in on Facebook too?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, nobody wrote a number on Facebook. Oh, no, there's one.
1, 2.
Okay. All right.
Well, they just keep coming in.
All right. Well, let's let Anatalia read, and then we'll give people the number.
Okay. For folks that are soft, balance your body with song, push in to let out sound, and release the shame that invaded your home. Walk away, let them whisper. They have always had critiques, and you will always have substance. Once you stop listening to the static, the messages will come. You have everything when you recognize your power. Drop the baggage you've held for others. Put the lesson on a patch, sew it on your sleeve, and keep going. Despite the world and all it demands of you, stay soft, tender to the touch. Appreciate cuddles and lavender ice cream, dance barefoot and sunbathe in the nude, make potions to clean and brew intentions, inviting hummingbirds to break bread.
We love it. See, when you were talking about your being emotionally very like open and sensitive, that poem came to mind to me. I just remembered the words "for those who are soft." And I was thinking, yeah, that's so nice.
Hummingbirds to break bread.
I know you get the imagery.
Sunbathe nude. Yes,
I like the brew potions of attention.
Oh, yes. We like that over here. Okay, Makeda, tell us who is our winner. Do we have one?
Oh, we might not even have one.
What's the number?
The number was 18, but I don't see any 18s.
Oh. Well, let's see. The closest we get to 18 is...
We're looking for
There's a 15. That might be the closest.
Yeah, I guess so. There's 15 on here.
And there's 2 15s.
All right.
Is there anything like closer?
I just want to make sure we didn't miss anyone.
I know, because you know how it is.
15, that's 3, yep. So Andrea Coleman and we have Doris Johnson. You guys both won Anatalia's book. I'm gonna I'll put my email in both of these chats, and just email me your address and I will send them right out to you guys.
And for everyone else, we 100% encourage you to go to anataliavallez.com so you can get your own copy of the book and find out all the things that Anatalia is doing in the world. And we want to leave you with the last word, Anatalia, before you go. If there's anything else that you want to say to people out there.
I mean, yeah, I'm so grateful to be able to share this time with you all. Thank you. I I don't know. Journaling has really helped me in the past couple of weeks. Just being with, like, I think that not pushing away our feelings and what, because those are they're messages, right? We don't have to be attached to them, but definitely, um, this is a hard time, and if we need to cry, if we need to be sad, if we need to reach out, um, like it's important that we don't we aren't numb, or that we don't desensitize ourselves from everything that's happening, um, because this is history. We're making history right now, and so, like, it's a really important time to tap into our own joy, our own bliss. Someone told me, like, what you did as a child that brought you a lot of joy, do more of that.
Amen.
Right, like, because that freedom of being a child and not knowing the rules of what you should or shouldn't be doing, like, being able to do a little bit more of that, whether it's dancing, writing, singing, napping, whatever it was, and do more of that, because that child self is in all of us. And yeah, showing them some love.
Love
Wow.
it.
Okay, this very tender, juicy episode with our special guest, Anatalia Vallez. We want to thank you for being with us.
Yes.
And,
Thank you.
and then we see gracias, mi hermana, in the chat. From Minga to you, Anatalia.
Oh, yes, Natalia. Someone commented after they heard your poem about your mother that they got chills. They were on Facebook. So. Credit where credit is due.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this episode was about women of color, some of our tensions and possibilities. And Makeda made that point earlier about needing to visit each other, with each other, in each other's spaces.
And not expecting similarities.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Not expecting similarities. So there's a very important book that for me really helped to bring this home. And this was This Bridge Called My Back, which I just want to give a shout out to. One of the first books to really knit women of color together as a group.
We might have to do a little side episode next week about it. I have a lot of notes.
Makeda has a lot. So why don't we say, so we'll get to that next week. We'll talk more about This Bridge Called My Back, which is a compilation, I think, put together by, I know it's by women of color, but I think it might have been Sherry Moraga. Anyway, yes, yeah. Am I right? Yeah. Okay, it's been a while. So we have a lot of sisterhood we want to explore with other women of color, and also honor, our distinctions and like that.
That's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head.
We hit the nail on the head. That's what we do over here. So join us for our 2-day hidden bias training. I'm going to let Makeda put that back in the chat. And we're going to let Anatalia go because she's been here for a lot longer than she said she was. So thank you for your generosity.
Thank you. Love you.
Mwah. Yeah. So for those of you who are still with us, I wanted just to make sure that we put, Makeda, you already did put it in the chat. Wow, you're fast.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sad. I wanted to share some of my notes.
Oh, did you want to give a little taster for next week? We're not going to discuss it, but maybe Makeda can tease you for what's coming up.
Yeah. Let me give you guys a tease because I wrote a quote down. It's a little long, but it's a good one, okay?
Make sure you speak it loudly.
Okay. So this is a quote from The Bridge That Broke My Back. It says,
no, This Bridge Called My Back. Break her back.
This bridge called my back, sorry. So it would be very easy to identify white women as my enemy. As long as I do, however, I accept my devalued, oppressed, and unliberated woman's state. We do not seek to know her because we would be betraying our own brownness, collaborating with the enemy, whiteness. The problem here is that we remain isolated and unknowing of woman, any woman, we continue to accept the basis for a part of our oppression. As we trade distrust and irresponsibility, we trade liberation.
Ooh, okay, that was pithy.
I had to say something. It's such a crazy book. It's so good and dense with things. And so, yeah, I guess you always asked me to leave them with something.
That was
something
huge.
I don't know, don't let color separate you as women. In that way, you're just falling deeper into oppressive state, I guess. But you guys already know that.
No, we're going to find it. We're going to delve into that quote. Maybe we'll put it in an email. The next email about this will, because I know you want to dig into that one. That was juicy. So I guess with that, I just want to say thank you to my co-host, Miss Makeda.
Thank you.
You did a great job today. And if you would like us to interview a woman artist or someone else, doesn't have to be a woman, please, feel free to drop us a line via email.
If you think they would like us.
That's true.
We're not everybody's cup of tea.
We definitely aren't. And I think for Black History Month, I was thinking it'd be nice to talk about us in relationship, Black people in relationship to other groups, in addition to in relationship to ourselves. So
I agree.
And I think it's always nice to talk about art and literature.
That I love.
Music.
Any poetry episodes, I'm all over here.
Yeah. We
really
both
like those.
Yeah, we really like poetry. So if you have favorite authors, stuff like that you want to hear us explore out loud, please join us.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. We love you.
We love you.